Hey, everybody, this is your girl, Liana Michelle, and thank you for tuning in to Faithfully Her. Today, I'm on with a very beautiful young lady. She's from Florida. Her name is Miss Taylor Brown. She is a registered marriage and family therapist. And we're going to talk today a little bit about the counseling that married couples go through before and after marriage, and a whole bunch of other things. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right in. So everybody, if you could put your hands together and welcome Miss Taylor Brown.
Hi. I'm excited.
So how are you doing today?
So I'm doing well. I had like a slow start to the morning, but I'm doing good.
Well, I'm so happy that you found time to spend with us today. As I was telling you before, I probably have so many questions for marriage, even though I've never been married, but
Me either.
you know, girl, you know how it is out here in these streets. It's just so much. It's so much. So I just want to jump right in. And I guess the first thing that's coming to my mind is when I say it's so much out here, right? Because you're single, I'm single. So you have guys that are sliding in your DMs, and they, oh baby, and oh, you're so beautiful. And okay, so let me just start there. That line, I hate it. That
But like you're beautiful.
Yeah, that good morning, beautiful, or oh, you're so beautiful. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I just feel like it's so common and it's so typical, it's overly used, it's just done too much. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. I automatically am turned off at that line. So when
Okay.
I hear that, when I see it and it's like, oh, good morning, I'd be like, oh, I don't reply. Lots of times I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna just block this person. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the beautiful line. And I know it sounds mean and it's harsh and it's probably a little judgmental, but come with something original. Give me original. So why do you think that's so hard nowadays for men who are, or are these men not actively, seriously pursuing me? So they're just trying to get a notch on their belt.
I think what's crazy is like I was just talking about this with a friend because I was like, I feel like social media kind of ruined it. Like, approaching somebody and getting creative. Like, I feel like they don't have to do that anymore. Like, you got stuff that, sometimes answers that even pop up for you so that
Right.
you can press the button. Like, it's just like, there's no originality, but it's not encouraged, with social media and everything. Like, everybody pretty much says the same thing, does the same thing. And if you don't, people are jumping down your throat. So it's just like, I feel like originality just is not encouraged these days.
Well, I'm encouraging y'all. Please be original. Don't hit me with the same dumb lines because I will block you. I would never reply to you. I don't want to have those conversations. I
Yeah.
am over it, and you're right. Like, I would prefer for a man to come up to me and approach me like a gentleman. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
lady, you're a gentleman. Approach me properly. You know what I'm saying? Say hello. How are you doing? How was your day today? I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not that I don't want compliments or I don't like compliments, because who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? And we are women. We want to be seen as beautiful and sexy and vibrant, especially by a man or the person that's interested in us. But I want something that's more original and I guess old school.
Yeah.
Because I'm 48. So my prime years was before the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
you had to meet me face to face. You had to have that conversation. You had to sit on the phone and talk to me and so forth. And now everything, you don't even know who's on the other end typing.
Nope.
You have no
No.
idea who you're talking to.
And my thing is like, if you're going to go, the social media route, like we as women, like we're busy. We have things that we have going on, like businesses, I have a podcast, stuff like that. And that's all in my bio. So if you're gonna slide in my DMs, why don't you be like, oh, well, what's the last thing y'all talked about on your podcast? Or, what kind of clients are you seeing now? Like kind of like show genuine interest in me.
Interest. Yes.
Like if that is really just out there for you, like do your homework. Like,
Right. I think that people have gotten out of pursuing the pursuit. Like we've gotten out of being chased and they've gotten out of chasing, and I always was under the impression that if a man really wanted to be with you, if a man really is interested in you, he's going to put effort in. So he is going to take the time to find out what your last podcast was, what was the highlight of your day, or even something as simple as what's your favorite color? Do you like pets? You know what I'm saying? Like things like simple little things like that. And we as the women have gotten out of making men or making that other person step up to the plate and do what needs to be done to secure us.
Right.
I think we give, and when I say we, I'm speaking in general terms. I think we give ourselves away so easy that they don't feel like they have to do anything for it anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to be chased. It's so hard. I don't know, because I'm very awkward. So like even like if somebody is flirting with me, or even the other day I was telling my friend, I was like, I want to meet somebody at the grocery store, and I gotta watch what I say because it be happening. So so I go there, it happens, and I'm like, I didn't even know that he was flirting with me. Like I'm just like, oh God, like so I don't even know how to be chased. Like what do I put out there to be like, okay, come over here, rather than me having to approach first? Because I've been told too, like that I'm supposedly intimidating, and so I don't know. Like, should I be approaching them? Should I allow them to approach me? How do I get that to happen?
And I went through a stage like that before. And I'm probably still in it a little bit because as far as, do I approach the man or does the man approach me? Is it okay for me to be that forward? And I went through this stage where I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna step out of my shell and I'm gonna talk to the guy. Yeah, I'm gonna make the first move and go and say hello and this and that. And it was fine to an extent, to the extent of, I started running into guys that was like, well, you gonna buy me a drink? You came and said hello to me. Like, boy, no, I ain't buying you. Like, like, you know what? You're gonna make me lose my religion and curse you out. So I gotta go. So it's so tricky because when you are the one that's moving forward and the more aggressive party, they expect you to always be that. Or it's either that or they're like, oh my gosh, she's too aggressive. I can't deal with an aggressive woman, or she's too strong or whatever. So I kind of don't know what to do either. Like I'm just like you. I don't know.
It's hard. I'm so awkward. Like it's ridiculous. And so like I don't mind the approaching like through the DMs. I just, like you said, I would rather it be more original. I've deleted dating apps though, so it it really just has to be like a natural, like you actually pursuing me. Cause
Well, let's
no.
talk about your podcast a little bit before we go back into all of this heavy stuff with these fools out here. So let's get into the podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
So we just finished this season. It's called Wine and Rants. And so it was just like three of us. We get together and we talk about like certain topics. Like our last one was how has social media changed society. And so we talked about that. And usually like the premise is to taste different wines and talk about those, and then we get on our topic, things like that. We talk about astrology, just all kind of stuff. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. But we are going to be like changing the name and because I have a friend on there now who does not drink at all, so we're gonna change
Um,
it to kind of include her. But yeah, the episodes are still up now, but we're gonna like sooner. Well, a little later, we're gonna delete those, and then in preparation for the next one.
so are they on YouTube, or are they like just verbal, like where you could just hear it, or do we get visuals also with it?
Right now it's just audio. So you
Okay.
would go on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. What's the other? Well, we record on Anchor.
Yeah.
Um, so you could listen on Anchor if you want. But yeah, most people just listen through Apple Podcasts or
Okay, and that's what I like about Anchor, because they spread it out for you. So you don't have
mm,
to go to each, like, how many podcast channels is there? So yeah, I do like Anchor for that, for distributing it to multiple podcast platforms. And with Anchor now, they're also doing visual. So
I was like, I thought.
yeah. So that's cool. They're upgrading. Yay, Anchor.
Mhm.
So with your podcast, Wine and Rats, you said that you guys were talking about, oh my God, it slipped my mind. I don't know why I didn't write it down. You know
The,
what?
the
I'm sorry.
the last topic.
No, the first topic you said that you guys
Oh,
had.
how media changed society.
So yes. So I also have talked to a few people that's been on here with us, and we talk about how social media has changed. What do you think are the benefits to or the downsides to social media?
So, with the benefits, I would say I do like how it does make it easier to advertise businesses, to even start businesses, and to kind of get word out there a lot quicker. I like that aspect of it, and I do like um I do like being able to like post my friends for their birthdays and stuff like that, because it makes that a lot easier, shouting them out for their birthdays. But I will say like the downside to it is general like originality. Like it's just not there. Everyone wants to look the same. Everyone wants to say the same things, think the same way. And I feel like we're supposed to learn certain things through experience and through human interaction, not through a think piece or a post or things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
I feel you on that, because what I believe that social media is good for the things like you said, for posting businesses, if you want to do a quick shout out or something like that. And even with certain aspects of your personal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. But I think that posting every detail of your life on social
Yeah.
media is detrimental, because no one
Mm-hmm.
needs to know everything about you. My mother used to always say, Michelle, it's okay to have a little bit of mystery about yourself. Everybody don't need to know everything. And she used to always tell me, your left hand doesn't need to know what your right hand doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly believe like it's okay to keep certain things to myself and to have that privacy for my life, because you don't want everybody's opinion. You don't need everybody peeking in your window. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to hold some things back and keep some things to yourself. Not everybody needs to know everything.
Yeah, and I that's why I like the close friends feature, because I'm like, when I just want something between me and my friends, and I do want to post, and it's just between me and my friends. I didn't get the whole like, you have a close friends feature, but you throwing everybody in there. Like, why would you do that? And then when
well,
it
let
gets
me
mad.
well, let me ask you this. Being a marriage and family therapist, does that problem arise in your clients? Are they finding social media something that is coming between them in their relationships?
Um, I've seen it more with the families be an issue. I haven't really like come across it with couples as much, which is actually surprising. But
Right.
but yeah, I've seen it more so an issue like with the families and trying to connect with their teenagers, and it's just not, work.
Okay.
So but yeah, I've definitely seen that be an issue. I actually had a professor, she was doing research on that about how the kids are just not as connected to, the family, and you don't know what they're doing like at all. So they have these different ways of hiding things, like that Roblox game. Like I didn't know certain things like racism and you know like recruiting people to certain groups. I didn't know that that was going on. So yeah, it's weird.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so happy I raised my son before it got big. Like, I'm so happy. Like, my son was born in 95, and that's like right when the internet was really starting to come out. So he did kind of grow up in that area, in that era, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Like,
Yeah.
now you see people walking down the street like this. And I'm like,
Mm,
baby, look up. You're gonna get hit by the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold your
yeah.
head up. And I know when I'm with my god babies or whatever, I take their phones away when it's dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time to eat, y'all have to give aim to your phones. Give me your phones, and we're gonna sit here and we're gonna eat and we're gonna have a conversation together. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about your day, what you did in school, what did you learn, what's your teacher name, what did you play at recess? You know what I'm saying? What did you have for lunch today? Like, I just want to have a conversation and get them to be able to communicate. Because when I'm finding with the young people that I do mentor, they don't know how to communicate
Yeah.
outside of this phone. They have
Mm-hmm.
no idea how to communicate face to face. So I find like sometimes I'll ask a simple question. It could be something simple like, did you guys read a new chapter in school today or anything? And it's like they're caught like the deer in the headlights. They don't, and I'm like, that's a simple yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not asking you to go build a rocket ship, just a simple yes or no. But they get caught because they have no idea how to do those face-to-face interactions. And even when things arrive in school between them and other peers, they don't know how to interact or handle those situations, but they know every app, how to maneuver every piece of technology that's a computer, a laptop, or iPad. They can do all of that, but those simple little questions they struggle with in communication, which is why when I'm with them, I always be like, okay, phones, turn your phones off and hand me your phones. And then I'm gonna put
Mm-hmm.
the phones up and we're gonna sit here and have conversation without social media for an hour. We're just going to
Yeah.
talk. I don't care if we just play Monopoly. Whatever it is we're doing it without that cell phone.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that parents take those things away during certain times of the day because they're so connected to it all day, every day.
Yeah.
They need to disconnect from that sometimes and deal with the reality of what's right here in front of us. Let's be present in the moment together.
Yeah, I've even had to talk to some kids about like what sensory overload is. Cause you think you're on the phone, you're scrolling and like that's relaxing, but it's not. Like you're still taking in a lot of info, a lot of stimulation. And so you're overstimulating yourself. And so I kind of had to like explain to some of them like that is what's going on. And that's why you're so tired, when you go to bed. That is why you're so tired at school. That's why you don't have as much energy as you think you should, because a lot of times you are overloading yourself with information. And so like, when I talk to them about it like that, I mean they get it, but obviously it's a habit. It's something they got to work on. But
Yeah.
they definitely do get it. Like one thing I say about kids that I love, they're so resilient
Yes, they are. Yes, they
and
are.
absorbent. they absorb everything. And so that's why you got to be so careful about like what you say around them and what you do, because they will absorb it. I'll tell you that.
Yes, yes. I have a little kiddo now. I work with autistic families, and one of the families, the little kiddo absorbs everything, like imitates your movement, what you're saying, what you like, imitates everything. So you have to be so careful around that little kiddo because she's picking up everything that you're doing and then she imitates it. So if you say a bad word, it might be 5 hours later, but you're going to hear it come out of her mouth. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And so, yeah, you have to like really, as parents, watch what you're doing and what you're saying around your children because they are sponges and they are soaking up everything that they're seeing and hearing. And we
Yeah.
don't know how it's going to come out or when it's going to come out. Like I have another little kiddo who is now cursing in school. And it's like, it's time to come in from recess. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, you can't say that.
I don't know how teachers are not dying laughing all day. Like kids are so hilarious.
Right. Um, so I'm working with him now on better ways to communicate those things, better way to say, like, we don't have to say that word, but I understand you're frustrated. You didn't want to end recess, but recess ends every day at the same time. So, just kind of working those things out. But it's just really funny sometimes when I hear it and I don't be wanting to laugh because I want to stay professional, but I have to
Mhm.
giggle.
It's hard. It's so hard not to. Like, oh my God. My sessions with kids are so hilarious, especially the teenagers. Oh my Lord. Once they get comfortable in therapy, like you hear it all. It's so
But it's good that they have you in a safe place to say it all. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times as teenagers, I know for me when I was younger, I didn't feel comfortable talking to my mother about things that I was going through. Or
Yeah.
when I was experiencing depression or low self-esteem and sadness and feeling alone and unloved or whatever, I didn't feel comfortable expressing those things to her because as caring as of a person as my mother was, she was also very, very strict and
Mhm.
hard. And it would be like, oh, you just so sensitive. Oh, my child, such a sensitive child. Oh, my child just takes everything to heart. Like, and to make it seem like it's my fault that I have those feelings.
Right.
So it caused me to shut down and not talk to her about those feelings. So I think it's great when children have a place where they can go to and express those feelings and those thoughts, and they know that they're being heard and it's being taken in by somebody who cares. So I think that that's very, very important. So I commend you for that. I commend anybody that's doing great work with children, but thank you for providing that service to our babies because they need it.
Yeah. They do need it. And I love when they come in and they're like, yeah, I told my mom that I wanted to go. Like, yes. Because like for me, like I feel the same way. When I was a teenager, it was like it was very hard for me to express my feelings. And then when I did, it was like angry outbursts. And I didn't know what was going on. I never knew what was going on until I got to college. And they had like free counseling sessions. And so I ended up going, and that's how I found out I was depressed. I'm like, I've been depressed all through high school, probably some of middle school. Like I didn't know. I thought being irritable and feeling that way and reacting to things like the way I was, I thought that was normal. I thought I was just like that. But no, I wasn't. I just wasn't able to communicate it. And I like you said, like it's caring and loving as they were, they also didn't understand those things. And had I went to them and I was like, yeah, I'm depressed, like they would have definitely brushed it off. Like, no, you
Right.
just sensitive, you just feeling like, get over
Like
it.
my mother probably would have said, "You just trying to get out of that chemistry test and send me on anyway."
Yeah.
So yeah. And and I think to in their defense, I'm not sure how old your mom is. My mom was 76, 77 when she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And she was raised in the South.
Yeah.
So being a Southern woman coming from that area, that age of time, um, and not being exposed to therapy and therapeutic services because of that era of time,
Mm-hmm.
church and God was where you went for everything. And I'm
Yeah.
not discrediting church and God. Lord knows, y'all know I love the Lord, but as I always tell y'all, God made therapists for a reason. Okay, so but I think with that older generation, since they wasn't used to it, they didn't know how to respond or react to it. They didn't know what they were seeing or what they were looking at, and the only way they knew how to deal with stuff was a whooping, a punishment, and prayer. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So prayer and punishment was pretty much how we got through in my household, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was grown working in the mental health field that I began to seek a therapist and found out all of the stuff that I had. And I'm like, I've been carrying this around for like 30 years now. So what am
Mm-hmm.
I supposed to do with it now? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I unpack 30 years of luggage and get lighter? So, I mean, and it takes work. It takes a lot of work. So you have to be willing to do the work. I want to jump into a little bit more about marriage because we
Okay.
have a marriage and family therapist. Would you recommend premarital counseling?
Yeah, I think it's important. Because I think a lot of times the stuff that comes out in premarital counseling, nobody was talking about or thinking about before the proposal. And sometimes these people are spending 2 to 5 years together, and they thinking everything is fine, and then premarital comes along, and then it's like, oh my God, like we didn't know this about each other. I didn't know this about your childhood. Like, I'm like, what were y'all talking about on these dates?
Right, right.
What y'all be laying in bed talking about?
And that's
You know?
funny. I remember I was dating a guy and I remember asking him because I'm a counselor, you know what I'm saying? So my mind, my major, it was psychology. So sometimes it's hard for me to take my therapist hat off. And even when I'm
Yeah.
talking to my friends, they'll be like, okay, Shell, take the therapist hat off. I just need my friend right now. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me shake it off. And I have to constantly tell myself while they're talking to me, don't be a therapist. Don't be a therapist. But I be wanting to
Mm-hmm.
ask questions and unpack things and that. So I have to learn the difference in that. But I was dating a guy once and I remember asking him, what was your favorite childhood memory? Just to see what the response would be. And it completely caught him off guard. He couldn't even
Yeah.
answer that. And I'm like, wow, is it that you don't have one or you just don't remember it or you don't want to talk about it? Like, what is that? And I never to this day got that answer to his favorite childhood memory.
Oh
Um,
my God.
and so, yeah, and that was like a bit of a flag for me because everybody has childhood traumas, but you also have some good things that sprinkled up in there. And
Mm-hmm.
it could have been the day you learned how to ride a bike. It could have been the day you went to Chuck E. Cheese for the first time, like anything simple like that. But he could not give me an answer for that. And I just thought that that was a red flag. And I kind of ran.
I feel you. But no, I'm like, and that's honestly why I get so happy when I get male clients, because I'm like, nobody asked them these things. Like
Mhm.
nobody cares, or they just aren't around people who care to even ask them, even their friends. And so it's just like, when they come in alone, and they're there because they want to be there, like that is a big step to me, like looking at them. You know, and usually, yeah, they're crying and sobbing by like the second or third session. But that's because the things you're asking them, you know, how what you asked during intake, like things about their childhood, things about, you know, their family history. Nobody ever asked them these things. And so to have to like speak it and talk in depth about it, like it makes them emotional. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, you know, but I'm glad you're getting it out, you know.
Yeah. And you know,
But
and
yeah.
it's okay for men to be vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
release those things. And I think it's important for their partners to provide that safety, that place of safeness for them. Because if
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't feel safe with you, he's never going to be vulnerable with you. And if he feels like you're going to take his vulnerability and throw it back in his face to
Mm-hmm.
demean or degrade him on some level, he's never going to be vulnerable with you. So I think that's important. And I'm happy that you're seeing more men come through the door and discuss their issues and everything, because, you know, they say the women are the backbone of the family, and we're the ones that keep the family together and the glue, but the male is the provider for that family. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have a family to keep glued together if he isn't out there providing what the family needs, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly believe that, you know, the Bible says that the woman is supposed to be the helpmate, and that the man is supposed to profess, protect, and provide. And
Mm-hmm.
we are supposed to be the helpmates for that. So when in my head, I look at that as, and go with me, I'm a little cray cray sometimes up in here. So when I read that, the first thing I think of is Moses in the field, and he is just a plowing away in the field with the donkey. He working his butt off because he got to provide, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
helpmate, she is, and she back in, and she bundling up the wheats, and she putting it in the basket, and she bringing it on to the house, and she got the kids together, and she making the bread. And when he come in, he could take his bath and relax, and they can have dinner as a family. And you know, so when I think of helpmate, I'm like, I look at it in the field. Don't ask me why I go to the field, but I do. I go to the field with it. And I think about what that helpmate looks like in that situation, and then how that transfers over into today's society with me
Mm-hmm.
being a helpmate to a man. So I think that we get away from the basics of what relationships and lives and lines should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get away from those things, and it causes a lot more problems in our relationships.
Yeah. I remember a few months ago I took a social media fast because I just felt like it was just too many people like thinking for me or telling me how to think about certain things, especially dating and like without my consent, you know. So I was like, nope, I'm gonna take a break. And that like week, it just changed my whole perspective. Like sometimes I like see stuff and I'm like, that's ignorant. I'm gonna just swipe, you know, keep going, you know. And I'm just like, cause no, I certain stuff that like people are trying to like say we're supposed to care about, we're supposed to look for. I'm just like, this don't do it for me. Like the other day when I was talking to my friends, I was just like, yeah, like everybody's making it like, you know, nobody's saying like we don't want anyone that's not financially stable. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is whether or not you are here, cards are going to be swiped. Like, so I want somebody who is providing something for me that wouldn't otherwise be provided if they weren't here. You know, like make your presence like a,
No.
a, a desire. You know what I'm saying? But you know, just if it's just money you're bringing to the table, like, girl, I have money. Like, I'm okay.
Right, right. And I
So,
feel the same way too. I always say that, you know, I've been single for so long. Like so long. I had to draw that out so you could get how long that was.
okay, I
I've
have not.
been single for a very long time. Like my son is 27, and I've been single for probably 10, 15 years now. So being a single woman on my own, doing it for myself, putting, being a single mom, raising my kid, putting myself through school, working a full-time job, doing this, doing that, doing it like I do. So I'm okay, with taking care of me and maintaining me and what I need for myself. So when I say in a partner, I'm looking for somebody that is going to be a benefit. I always say I want a partner where we can build together. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about too. How important is that in a relationship, to where each person has their own individual happiness before they even come together, and then together they create a brand new tree of happiness. At least that's the way I think it should be.
That is very important. Because I've been in a relationship before I found my happiness, and I saw like how I was in that relationship, and it wasn't right. We'll just leave it at that. But it just wasn't right. I felt like, I kind of merged my life into this person's life because I felt like, I had stuff going on. I was in college, but I kind of just put my life into his rather than kept my own life going the way it was. And
Yeah.
so, once I did, I left that relationship, and then I found my individual happiness. Then I get with somebody who don't have his own. And then it's just like, okay, now I see why I was the problem. So that to me, I learned that from experience, and that's just very important. Like, you have to have your own happiness before you get with somebody else. And nobody's saying like it's a problem to want companionship. That's not a problem. But if you are not happy with self, like, the relationship isn't going to magically fix that.
Right. Right. And in the words of Mama Rue, how you gonna love somebody if you don't even love yourself, child? I'm sorry, I'm a Rue fan. But yeah, and that is the realest statement, because if you don't love and appreciate and value who you are as an individual, then you don't know how to love and value the next person, because it starts with you. You have to be whole. And I had to learn that. I really, really did. Even through all those years of being single, I was dating and having fun and doing my thing or whatever, but I still wasn't happy. I have just recently grown into being happy with Liana Michelle. Flaws and all, everything. And I still struggle sometimes with certain things. We look at ourselves and we always picking ourselves apart, what we could change, what we need to do different. Like this arm fat. Ooh, Lord Jesus, I just want to cut it. Like, can I just get the turkey knife and just cut that off? But you know what I'm saying? It's because as women, we do that. We pick ourselves apart, right? But
Yes.
even with me looking in the mirror and still wanting to pick myself apart for those things, what I've learned now is that it doesn't negate who I am, and that I could still love myself even though I want to make a few little tweaks and changes. Making the tweaks and changes does not mean that I don't love myself. It just means that there's room for improvement. So I had to shift my thinking, you know what I'm saying? And I think we have to learn how to shift our thought process and shift the things that we say to ourselves, because the tongue is the most powerful muscle in the body for a reason. It speaks, it speaks life, it speaks death, it speaks truth, it speaks lies. It can make or break a situation. The way you say something, the tone of voice and so forth, all of that stuff matters. So I had to learn how to speak differently to myself and start telling myself I love you. It's sometimes during the middle of the day and I'm at work and I could just feel like a wave of sadness that's trying to creep in on me for nowhere, like it just comes out of nowhere. And I have to stop and go in the bathroom and remind myself of who I am. Like, hey girl, I love you. You got this. You can, you know what I'm saying? Like, even to the, like, now hug yourself, now get back on out there. Them kids need you. You know what I'm saying? And So I think that's important for us to do also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely growing up, like I watched my mom, like she picked herself apart a lot. And so for a long time that became like how I spoke to myself. And even that, like I'm 27 now, and so it's like for years and years and years that's been going on. Like I went to college doing that, I went to grad school doing that. And it wasn't until like in the middle of grad school that I realized like I'm not very nice inside. Like I'm not nice to myself. So, it's a process, but it definitely became something that I was working on actively because I'm like, I can't continue like talking to myself like this and then like want other people to say so many nice things. And, not that that gives people a right to treat me any kind of way, but,
Right.
it needed to start from within.
Yeah. Because what it does is making you start seeking validation from other people instead of
Yeah.
validating yourself. And
Yeah.
when you're waiting for or looking for somebody else to validate who you are, it's a S show. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Mhm.
total crap because people are cruel and mean. And if they're going through something and they're not happy in their life, they're not going to be nice to yours. They're going to project what they're feeling onto you. And if you need that person to validate you in that moment, they just kill it'll just kill your spirit even more so.
Yeah. I struggle with that a lot too. Like I'm glad you said that because with like wanting people's validation before I do certain things, it's just like I'm like, well, let me ask this person like what they would think. Like instead of just saying like, well, this will make me happy, so I'm gonna just do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
get better.
because really you're only obligated to you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your life. You only get one to live. And if you're living it for everybody else's approval, what kind of life is that? That means you're always that's like the hamster in the wheel. You're just running, 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 and you're never getting anywhere because everything you're doing is for somebody else's benefit. It's not for your
Yeah.
own. Yeah. So and when you was talking about your mom and the way she would speak to herself and how that transferred down to you, my mother used to always tell me, because my mother was a heavy set woman, and she used to always tell me I couldn't gain weight because she's not going to buy clothes for two fat people.
Oh wow.
So yeah, yeah. So now that I'm older and I'm a little bit thicker than I was back then, of course, you know what I'm saying? But it's crazy because I was in my closet the other day and I was like, oh, I need to figure out what I'm gonna wear to this brunch and blah, blah, blah. And let me start going through some stuff now. And my mom's voice came right in my head. I'm not buying clothes for too fat. Cause I was like, well, maybe I'll just go and grab something, pick something up that kind of just fits the occasion. And my mom's
Mm-hmm.
voice popped right into my head. I'm not buying clothes for two fat people. And I
Oh
was like,
wow.
and it froze me. Like I literally froze in my spot for a minute in the closet. I just stood there and I was like, shake that off, shake that off. Like that, get that voice out your head. It doesn't matter whether you're thin or curvy or thick or skinny. Like it doesn't matter. As long as you feel good with who you are on the inside, none of that matters. And I literally just had to sit there and pray that voice out of my head for a minute. And
Yeah.
then I got back to picking out like, oh, I could wear these shoes with it. And my spirit picked up a little bit, but I had to
Mm-hmm.
pray that voice away. And I find myself having to pray her voice away sometimes, depending on the situation. I have to pray her voice out of my head sometimes.
Yeah. First of all, that's beautiful. I need to start doing that.
Yeah, you have to shake those voices off and pray that voice out of your head. Because even with my son, I remember my son was telling me, he was debuting his second album and we were listening to it. It was like a little listening party. We was listening to it. And I was like, baby, why do you use auto tune? I think you have a nice voice. Why do you use auto tune? Let your voice come through. And he was like, because Granny always told me that I couldn't sing or that I sounded bad or this or that. And I'm like, no, get her voice out of your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to stop him and like, no, baby, don't let her voice do that to you. Don't let her words do that to you. I grew up with that voice. I still fight with that voice. I don't want that voice to be in your head. You can do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. If you're comfortable with auto tune, fine, but don't do it because of what she has conditioned you to believe about yourself, because that's not factual. Like, you are talented. Do it however you want to do it, and don't let that voice deter you from it. And like, we really had to have like one of those conversations where I had to put my arms around my baby and tell him, like, no, we're gonna pray that voice right up out of here and get that up off of you. And I think sometimes with our parents, they don't even realize the damage that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, like with certain things, like, and it's not like she ever said anything about me. She always told me I was pretty, I was this, I was that, but it was just, I don't know, I guess it was just the example that she was setting. Like, she would say certain things about herself, and she would, like, even the way clothes would fit her and stuff like that. And so, like, when school came around and it was time to go school shopping, and I had gained some weight and I had to get bigger clothes, I always felt like, oh my God, like, I'm gaining so much weight. Like, I was just getting so self-conscious about myself and my body. Like, and like, people even still have to tell me today, like, no, you look gorgeous in that. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I don't like my stomach. Like, what's the deal? I don't know. It's so hard to undo it. And it's like, darn it. Like, she didn't even say it to me. Like,
Right.
nobody said it to herself, and it affected me.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, they don't always know that
Yeah.
they're affecting us. But as you
Mm,
stated before, children are sponges. So when we're young and that's our example, that's who we're with all the time. We're with mom, or whoever that main parent is. So they set the example for us. And even though, like you said, she wasn't saying it to you, she set an example for you. And
mm,
that's what you soaked up. And
yep.
with kids, it's funny because they will soak up and learn the negative stuff way faster than they learn positive stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
negative stuff just comes like, ooh, come on in, negativity. You know what I'm saying? They like all the negative stuff. And then all the positive stuff is like, no, I'm here too. I want to come in, but it's being blocked because for whatever reason, kids just seem to adapt the negativity so much easier than the positive.
Well, so our brains are actually wired like that. Like, we absorb negative information before we absorb positive information, because our brains are still like wired for survival. And so, like, if we were like in the caveman days, like, we would have to be alert for certain things. And so that's why our brains are set up like that, to I guess protect us in a way.
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's why we have to like take that time to kind of rewire, because, it's like, girl, you're not in survival mode. Like, you good and chill.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's
really it's crazy. And and that's why you have to just keep praying. So I have affirmations up. So when I'm in the bathroom every morning, I'm telling myself, you have to love yourself, flaws and all. And I have the Mama Ru quote: if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love anybody else. You have to love you before you could give or receive it. And I'm
Mhm.
telling myself, you could do all things through Christ. You got this. Choose to be happy today. Choose to be, God
Yeah.
is working things out for you, regardless of what the day looks like. He's on your side. Like, and I have to constantly, like I said, throughout the day, I have to take breaks and mental breaks sometimes just to refuel that into
Mhm.
my system and just make sure I'm good and I'm whole. And even when I'm on my study groups at night, and I'm in my study groups, and my study groups are like at 7:30 in the evening, and the team on the study group, they like, why are you always so cheerful? Like, you're always happy, you're so cheerful, you're cheering us on. And I'm like, yeah, because I give myself pep talks so I can be cheerful. Or I'll be on here like, I could care less about this, you know what I'm saying? But I can't not care because I need to pass this exam. So I have to
Exactly.
pick myself up and be upbeat so I can get through the process. So that's important. What made you choose to go into this form of therapy?
Oh my gosh. That is the funniest story. So I actually went to school for nursing, which is crazy at first. So because my grandmother told me, here they go. So she said, as a therapist, I would be useless, and you won't always have a job as a therapist, but you'll always have a job as a nurse. So I go to school and I'm majoring pre-nursing, and the program is so hard to get into. They only let 50 people in per semester, so you had to have a really high GPA. So I applied and I got denied. And so at the time, like, it was sad, but at the same time, I was just like, girl, I didn't even want to do that anyway. So like, now
Right.
I have the opportunity to do what I want. Like, ooh. So I go to the career counselor and I'm just like, okay, well, I got denied, but I still want to get out of here at the same time. So what I got to do? So she was just like, well, you could just change to, public health, like whatever. And that way you can still graduate at the same time. Like, cool, we got that out the way. So then I was like, well, I do know I want to go to grad school. We just got to figure out for what. And so I told her, I was like, yeah, I've always been interested in like psych and like therapy, stuff like that. And she was like, well, there's a lot of like different, things under that umbrella. So like, who are you mostly trying to work with? And I'm like, well, I do want to work with couples and I want to work with kids. And so at the time, I didn't even know marriage and family therapist was a title. And so she
Okay.
pointed me, and then I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And so I go looking for the programs, and everything looks so nice. I'm just like, yep, this is it. This is the one. So that's how I chose it. And then when I applied to 5 schools, but I went to Vegas. All the other ones, like, I did like a virtual, but I went to Vegas. Something told me to go to Vegas. And so I go, and then like it felt like home. Like, I loved it there. The program, not the
Mhm.
crazy outside, but the program. So like it was just like, yeah, they really put the emphasis on, like, we know that y'all don't know what you're doing, but let's just see who you are. You know what I mean? And I just felt so comfortable and so at home. So I was like, yep, this is the one. They chose me like that night. I was like, yep, I'm going to Vegas.
Okay. So you actually went to Vegas or did you do virtual?
I went to Vegas.
So
Hmm.
you okay, so for the classes and everything, so you stayed in Vegas.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. I wish I'd have knew you then, girl. I'd have been sleeping on your dorm floor. Like, girl, I'm going to Vegas. No, I don't even gamble. But it's just Vegas is just one of them places where everybody wants to go for and it was just on my bucket list. Like, I gotta get to Vegas. So, um, have you always been the type of person that wanted to help others?
Yes. And sometimes I realized, like, it was weird how people would, come up to me and they would just, start really spilling their life stories. Like it was natural. And so I was like, oh, I must just have that effect on people. Like, I didn't have a problem with it. So I was like, I just must be good at this. Like, like, this must be the calling. So, I know we have callings. So I was like, well, yeah, this might be what God want me to do. So
Sometimes we
yeah.
don't know, we don't even see our purpose when we're walking in it. It takes us a minute to realize that this is the purpose, this is the calling, this is what I'm destined for. Because we have our mind set on other things, or, we're living life and not really
Mhm.
paying attention to what God is doing for us in our life. And then after we go through some things and then the dust settles, we're like, oh, now I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the purpose. So yeah, I just figured it out. So I tell people all the time, like, I'm probably the only 40-plus-year-old woman that is just figuring her life out. Like, I just started understanding some stuff. So yeah.
I don't think you're the only one. I think that's another thing too, that we kind of have to stop, like, thinking we have to have our lives figured out by 25. Like, girl, No, like we're all winging it. Okay. Your parents were winging it, your grandparents were winging it. They don't they didn't know what they were doing either. And neither do we. And that's okay. Because we're just here to learn and learn some more and learn some more. Like there's never gonna be a day where you just figure everything out. Like,
Right.
no, it's too much.
Right, right. And and you're right about that. And I do agree with we are winging it and no one has to have all the answers and have everything figured out. Life is trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And the hope or the goal is that every day we're learning something new to make tomorrow a little bit better.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the goal. At least that's my goal, is that every day I learn something new so tomorrow can be a little bit brighter, a little bit better. I'm a little bit wiser, and hopefully I could be a little bit more effective tomorrow than I was today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All you can do. I mean, like even with kids, like working with kids, that you learn so much from them. Even though like you're teaching them things, like they're teaching you things too, like about yourself.
Yes, 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 yes. Um, do you think marriage is, okay, this is the good question. I put a star by it. I was like, why did I put a star here? Okay, so I think a little bit differently, I think, when it comes to relationships. And maybe because I've been burnt, from being in an abusive relationship to my
Hmm.
son's father coming out the closet,
Hmm.
to just dealing with an alcoholic, to you know what I'm saying, to being a man's mistress. I've
Hmm.
been through some things with relationships. So now I personally feel like it's a business. I feel like relationships is a business. So
Hmm.
when I am dealing with, and a person is like, oh, well, I want to take it a step further, then I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, we got to come to the table. And I'm like literally pen and paper. And I'm like, okay, so this is where the compromise is at. What are the deal breakers? What is this? What is that? Like, I need to know these things, because if I can't commit to it, then no, we can't go any further and we might as well just call it quits. So I had a guy tell me, you act like it's a contract, like you trying to, and I'm like, it is. It's a business. It's a business contract. Because if something goes wrong, somebody's going to want half. Somebody's going to want alimony. Somebody's not going to want to pay. It's going to be a big crap show in a courtroom. So, but if we understand what the guidelines are now, we might be able to save ourselves some trouble later. And I've
Hmm.
had dudes that have been very turned off, very intimidated by that approach for me. So what do you think about that in the terms of marriage and a contract?
I think you should lay it all out there. Like I think there is, stuff that needs to be discussed before saying, okay, now we're in a relationship. Okay, now we're engaged. Like it's just I don't think people should enter into these things lightly because these are our lives we're talking about. Like this is my livelihood. Like this is stuff, like you said, building your own individual happiness in your life beforehand. So imagine building like an empire and then going into a marriage, no prenup, no nothing. Then you
Right,
lose it all and have to start all over. Nobody wants to do that.
right.
And not just, just like, oh, money, like kids, you put that type of stuff in there, custody. If they come in with kids, are you helping with whatever? Are you not? Like that type of stuff is in a prenup too.
Yeah, because I remember asking him, like, so do you pay your child support? And he was like, what? That? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm not trying to be involved with you. You owe child support and now they come and garner my paycheck. I'm not
Hello.
paying for your kid. I already raised mine. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not doing that. And it was just, he just felt so offended. He was like, I'm so offended. So, and I never heard from him again. Like, yeah, he just never called again. And that was the end of it.
Well, that's good. But cause no, like I don't like that either with the whole kids thing. Cause like me, I don't have kids. So, and as of now, I don't date people with kids anymore because I tried it. It just didn't work out. No. So, but I don't like that either. Like they think you're just supposed to take on their whole like, luggage. And I'm just like, no, if I don't want to keep cutting checks on your behalf for your child, that is
Right.
my choice. That's my prerogative. I didn't sign up for that. Like you made that choice. And you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life, not me.
Right, right. And I agree with you because even now when I do meet men, that's one of the first questions I ask. Do you have children? How many and how old? And
Mm-hmm.
if they are, first of all, if it's more than two, I'm already out the door.
Yeah.
But if they're under the age of 16, I don't want you. Why? And I know that sounds so harsh, but my child is 27 years old. I've already
Yeah.
done parent teacher conference. I've already done field trips. I've already done, school supplies and runny noses and doctor's appointments and blah. I have already done that. I don't want to do it again. At this age in my life, I just want to live.
Yep.
I'm finally at a place where I don't have to take care of anyone but me. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
he's grown, he's living on his own, he's working, he take care of himself. I don't have to worry about him. Lord rest my mother. She has passed on to glory, so I'm no longer her caregiver. So now it's me time. And I
Yep.
don't want me time to be disturbed by your children. And I know that
Yep.
sounds so selfish, but it's just the way I feel right now. I don't want to be with a man with children under the ages. Like, I need for your kids to be on their way out the door
Yeah.
so we can we can travel and do things and explore life together and not have to worry about, oh, you got to get back by Sunday night because the kids got to be to school on Monday morning. No, I need your kids to be able to take themselves to school. I need for them to be there with it. And I have been told, because I've been talked to about a couple of men that's so harsh, it's very selfish, it's very one-sided. You was a single parent and you was still out here dating and no guy turns you away because you had a kid. I'm like, but I wasn't asking no guy to take care of my kid either.
And not
I
only
was
that, that was
never looking
like,
for I was never looking for a father for my child. My son had a father, regardless of our relationship and the situation that existed. He still had a dad. So I was never
yeah.
looking for a father for my kid. I was looking for a companion for me. That's different. You know what I'm saying? And now you get with these guys with these kids and they want you to be their surrogate mom. They expect you to pick up the slack. And if you're staying at their house and it's the weekend and the kids is there, now you got to cook for everybody. And I'm like, child, I was only buying Chinese food for myself. I didn't care that y'all didn't have no shrimp fried rice. Like, I didn't, like, and I know
I'm
it
just trying.
sounds mean.
That's not mean though. I feel like it's not mean because you are asking for what you already have in your life. Like you don't have any kids running around, so you don't want them to have any kids running around. That's not a hard ask, you know?
Right. And then that's why I like being godmommy, because I could, when I have the need, like when I want to go to the petting zoo and I want to look crazy because I'm a grown woman at the petting zoo, I go get the kids. Like, come on, the petting zoo is having a Halloween thing. I'm gonna go get the kids. And then I get to take them home. That's the beauty of it. I can engage with these children when I need to, and then I could take them right back to their mama and come back home to my peace and serenity. And you can't always do that if you're dating a man with small children, especially if he has primary custody. If you're
Mm-hmm.
dating a man who has primary custody and that relationship gets serious, now you're a part of those kids' life also. So
Yeah.
now they're looking at you in a certain light. And if the relationship goes wrong, you're not only leaving him, but you're leaving them also. So you have to consider those things when you're dating a person with children, because children get attached.
They do.
Yeah, and I'm like a big old kid sometimes. So like I roll around on the floor with the kids. I like going to the park. I like going to Dino Land. Like I love doing all of these fun things. So it'll be easy for a child to get attached. And so now if you hurt my feelings and I break up with you, now I have to break up with your children too. And they don't
Mm,
deserve that. So it's just easier if I say no to small children.
yeah, cause I think that was like the struggle. Cause like with my last relationship, it was abusive as well. So I knew at some point I was leaving. I just didn't know when. And so, but I did know that he had a child, and he was kind of in the middle of a custody battle too. It was so messy, but but yeah. So when she started to come over, like the little girl started to come over, I was like, yeah, I do plan on leaving him. So I'm like, let me just schedule a couple brunches whenever she come over because so that I'm not there for majority of the time, or like let me just be out shopping. I don't even like shopping in person, but like I was just making sure I wasn't at the house because I just didn't want her to get attached to me. But even with doing that, it was just like, when it was time for me to go and I'm getting like all my stuff out of the place or whatever, and like she was there, like she's literally snatching things out of my hand. Like, where are you going? I'm like, little girl, I don't like your daddy no more. Like, I'm gonna go. It was so
Oh my
won't
God.
let me
See, and so that's why you have to think about those things. So, to the men out there, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be mean or tough or, I'm not a tough girl. I crack commercials. I'm not trying to be anything like that. But I just feel like for me and where I am in my life, what I need and want is not someone with small children because I want to live. I want to travel. I want to do things. I have a business now, and I just want to be able to invest that time that I need to invest without feeling guilty because I'm taking time away from you and your 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 small kids. You know what I'm
leave.
saying? So yeah. Is it better to well, yeah, I think we just talked about that. Okay, so in your counseling sessions, if you wanted to just kind of categorize or generalize some things, what are the most difficult topics that your clients are facing in marriage? What would be the most difficult topics?
Um, I think because I sometimes see like couples that are older than me, and so I get like the generations where it's like hard to think outside of like work, family, home. And so when we get to talking about like, what do you do for self, it's like zero. Um and that becomes hard because sometimes in relationships that are just based on like, that, and you just only do work, family, home, that type of stuff, they get offended sometimes, like, oh, you're doing things for yourself, like that's not, you don't want to be around me, like, and so that becomes hard. um I think it does get hard to discuss infidelity, just because it's a very sensitive topic, like, but you have to talk through those things and through those processes, because it's like, if y'all are going to say we're going to stay together after this, y'all have to talk about it. Like, it's not, we can't just keep avoiding that whole situation. So that tends to get hard. And then just the inevitable, like sometimes people come to therapy and one person is trying to work on a relationship and one person is trying to get the bravery to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And so
Mm.
when we have those separate sessions and I talk to the one who's trying to leave, it's like, hello, like, you're telling me, but I kind of have to get that person to finally just say like what they're feeling. And so that becomes hard because we keep having separate sessions and it's like, all right, what are you doing?
Right, right, right.
But
So
yeah.
with personal time is important. And I'm
Mm,
happy that that's something that you brought up or speak to your clients about because you could get lost. Like you said earlier, you put so much of you into that relationship, and you were in college and doing other things, but you you immersed yourself into that other person in their life. And when you do that, you tend to lose who you are as an individual. And even though, yeah, you're going through the motions of your daily life and you're getting things done on the premises of getting back to that person.
Yep.
And yeah, and that, we have to have that personal time for both people. It's not just about women having that personal space or that personal time. It's also important for men to have that too. So I was always the person that was like, hey, so if you play basketball on Sundays with your friends, please don't stop on my behalf. Because on
Mm-hmm.
Sundays, I'm going to be with my girls and we're going to have tea. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want you to stop my stuff and I don't want to stop your stuff. So I think that that is important, that you have those times where you are apart. And what's that old saying? Absence make the heart grow fonder. So how are you ever gonna miss me if you don't never leave? Like, get from up under me. And I'm just that
Yes.
person who need that kind of space anyway. Like, I don't want somebody up under me 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
Don't be
no.
that clingy. Please don't be that clingy. Like, we don't need to be with each other all day, every day. Some days
I,
I just want to sit on the couch in my onesie and I don't want you near me. And I
yeah.
need to have that space. Yeah.
I hate clinginess myself, but it's crazy because in the previous relationship before the abusive one, I was the clingy person. Like I wanted to be up under him all day, like that, like you said, getting work done so I can go over to his place. And girl, I don't know why we stayed in the same apartment complex. That made it even worse. And so I just used to walk over there like, oops, I want to be up under here today. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that was just and but then the next relationship comes along and I'm just like, dude, like for it, because I don't spend some time alone. So, then did that and like now I love being alone. And so it's like, and even he would say sometimes I feel like I'm competing with your solitude. And I'm like, yeah, He was just like, I know like sometimes I feel like you can't wait to be single again. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, look at what you're doing. Like this does
Right.
not be my solitude. Why would I choose you abusing me over being by myself? Like, no, it doesn't work. So
Right. Right. How so I know after, like, I guess my last serious relationship, which would have been the time I spent as a mistress. And I'm not proud of it, you guys, but it's real. And y'all know I'm transparent. I tell all my business. That I spent 7 years as a mistress. And after that relationship, it hurt because there was love there on both parts. You know what I'm saying? There was, and it didn't break up because of his situation, because they ended up ending before he and I ended. Like,
mm-hmm.
they separated, two different houses, the whole, like, that ended, before he and I ended. But when he and I ended, it was a difficult breakup for me. I felt that hit, that loss. But I thought that it was important that I spent a little time with myself.
Mm-hmm.
You have people out here who are serial daters,
Yes.
who cannot be alone. They don't know how to be with themselves because they're always with somebody else. How important is it for people to take that time to be by themselves for a while before re-entering into another relationship?
I think it's very important. Um, because like for me, like I spent like maybe two plus years, after the good one, the good relationship. And I found myself and I was able to, separate myself from that whenever I needed to. But it's just like, being with somebody who didn't, like I said, I understood the issue there. And so, yeah, I think it's very important because, and especially like with men, I noticed that this is a pattern with men. Like they really do not know how to be alone. Like a lot of times they're in one a couple months after, or I've even seen where like somebody like gets divorced and they didn't go to therapy, they didn't do any soul searching. Like through 2-3 months later, like they're dating again. You know, they're about to move in with somebody. Like it's just like why? Like why can't you be by yourself?
Right.
No, but I just because it's important to just know who you are outside of being in a relationship. Like that is not the only you that exists. You
Yeah.
know.
So y'all, I'm still getting to know myself, I guess, because ever since then I've been single. So
It's fun.
like this is the longest me time I have had. Sometimes I do get sick of myself though. I be like, oh, I'm so tired of me. I need some atmosphere. So I have to get dressed and go outside and go visit some people or do something because I just get sick of me. But I do agree with you. It is important to kind of take that time, especially after you've been in a long-term situation, to just take that time to regroup and get to know who you are, understand the lessons that the relationship has taught you and how it can make you better. You take the time to learn or reflect on the things that you don't want in your next relationship and the things that you need to have in that next relationship, and the things that you have to be able to do for yourself. What did you learn? Where were your flaws or your bad moments in that relationship? What are some things that you could possibly change and do different before entering into the new relationship? And then actually do that work on yourself to build
Mm-hmm.
yourself back up and get that strength back and that energy back and that love for self back into you before you venture off into that next relationship, because then you'll be able to see those red flags a lot faster.
Yeah,
You won't be
absolutely.
afraid to speak out about those red flags and be like, nope, not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives you more confidence in who you are and what you want in your next situation. So, if you're coming out of a relationship and I know that you like to be with somebody, it's cuffing season. I get it. It's getting cold out, especially in Michigan. Like it's the fall season, so everybody get cuffed up in the wintertime because it's cold outside. So I get it. It's cuffing season. Y'all looking for something. But don't just grab onto something for the season, without being whole and happy 100 with yourself. At least
Yes.
that's what I think.
And also, if you have kids, please have your co-parenting situation down before you start dating again. Cause that I think that was part of our issue. Like the whole that it's still new. The baby 8 months when I got with the man.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they didn't have it down. And I'm just like, yeah, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, and you better fix it too. Like that was me.
Yeah, that's really, really young too. So he probably needed some time to deal with himself before he was jumping into another situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
he needed to heal.
Yeah, and he didn't take that time, like, and that's why I was just like, no, like this is, I tried in every aspect, but it's just like, no, I can't do it. I can't fix what isn't even mine. Like that's not even my baggage to fix. Like that is
Right.
yours. And yet
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a guy once and I said, listen, we're either gonna date or I'm gonna be your therapist, but I'm not gonna do both. You gotta stop calling me laying all this crap on my doorstep. This has nothing to do with my life. And I don't want no parts of it. So you have to
Right.
figure out how to fix this situation. Or, I could bill you for this hour that you've been on the phone crying about that situation. Like, I'll be more than happy to send you a bill, my brother. So, and yeah, he was offended, and I never heard from him again. I offend people. I'm learning that. Like, talking to you is making me understand I offend people. Then maybe that's why
Right.
I'm single.
But it's just but the stuff that you're saying, it's like I don't get how these things become offensive. It's just like, if you operate a certain way and that person doesn't, like don't get offended or try to change it about me. Like find somebody who fits whatever it is that you're looking for.
Right. Like, I
Like,
don't want to hold you up from your happiness. I just feel I'm not the person that's going to be able to be that. So yeah, I'd rather you go on somewhere, baby. It'll be all right.
Like, you will be okay. It's fine. Like, people, because people really, guys cannot stand that. Oh, I don't date people with kids. They don't like it. They don't like it. And I've been berated for it before, but I don't care. Like, I'm not doing it again. I didn't even want to do it that time. Like, before before I met him, I was saying that I don't date people with children. I don't have kids, so I'm not doing it. So me changing my mind, because we were like, oh, you just let one person change your mind. I'm like, no, me changing my mind was me dating him. Like, I just changed it back.
Right, right, right. So I know you said infidelity is something that comes up also in marriages. Are you seeing where more people are forgiving of these situations, or is it just something that cannot be worked through?
Um, it can definitely be worked through. And that was something I learned in grad school. Like, cause I felt like, I was just like, I thought it was over. You know what I mean? But no, people definitely do work through it. It's just a willful, like, it's just that willpower. Like, you have to want to.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of times the main thing is, as the offender, the person who did it, like, you cannot tell this person how to react to that.
Right.
So giving them that space to be angry, to be, irrationally upset, like, as long as they're not doing anything that'll land them in jail, I mean, just let them have it. But yeah, it is definitely something that can be worked through. I've seen where couples have worked through it, but I also seen where it ended in the therapy room. Like, and that's okay. Sometimes it
Yeah.
just don't.
Okay. Because I feel like that. And I know y'all gonna be like, oh, you such a hypocrite. Okay, I'll be that. But even though I was a mistress for, a period of time, I'm a type of person, because I'm territorial.
Mm-hmm.
If we have come to the agreement, like we didn't sat down at the table, we did our little contract, we know what the compromises and everything are, we good, you know your role, I know we good, okay. Now if we go through all of that, and now we are saying we are in this committed situation, this committed relationship, and I find out that you've been dipping your hot dog in somebody else's buns, then no,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you anymore. That's just
Yeah.
me. I don't want to, we're not going to talk about it. I don't want to work it out. I don't care about your sorries. I just need for you to
Mm-hmm.
leave. There's nothing for us to even discuss. And for me, it's more of I look at it like this. If we have what I consider to be a great physical relationship as well, then in my head, I'm thinking you making her feel the way you made me feel. And that's a problem for me. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Like, you gave her something that was supposed to be exclusively mine. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're spreading it around, then why are you even in a relationship? Just go and be free. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, and I have tried to come back from that. Like I did, like the guy who I dated who was the alcoholic. And I remember when I found out he had cheated or whatever, and I was so angry, I was over it. And he would not leave me alone. He just kept like, no, we could work it out, we could work it out, we could work it out. And I remember when I finally gave in, it was about maybe 2 or 3 months after the fact. And I finally was like, all right, fine, we can go to dinner, we can have a conversation. And I remember when we tried to get intimate after that, my mind was on, he probably did the same thing to her. Like, this is his signature move. So I know he did it. And I couldn't do it. And I was just like, you know what? I can't do this. Like, this is over. I can't come back from this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna always think of her every time you touch me. I'm thinking
Yep.
like, yep, that's how he be touching on her. And it just didn't sit well. And I just had to walk away.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm gonna go. Like, so. But to me, like, if they come in and they say that they want to work it out, I'm all for it. I'm gonna help you do that. But for me personally, no, I'm not working out. I'm not gonna stay like because I've been in a situation where I did stay during that. And like you said, you're thinking about that other person that they were with the entire time that you're trying to be intimate with them or even like spending time with them. And it's just like at this point, don't touch me. Like I don't want to
Right. Like
anywhere near.
I don't want that hot dog near me anymore. It's like one of those.
Please get away. Like I want hamburgers now.
Yeah, I'm really, I could be really cruel. No, I don't want to say cruel. I just harsh. Like I'm a lot of my mom. My mom she could be harsh. And I could be really harsh, especially when it comes to my heart and,
Yeah.
my emotional space and stuff. I could be really, really harsh because I'm just one of those persons that once you hurt my feelings, I'm done. Like, I don't know how to bounce back from you hurting my feelings. And because I feel like when you hurt my feelings, you're playing with my intelligence.
Yeah.
And I feel like with $250,000 in student loans, can't nobody afford to play with my intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got way too many student loans out here trying to get intelligent for you to be coming playing with my intelligence. So I just I can't deal with it. Once it gets to that point, I have to cut off and just separate and put the boundary up. And he and I are cool. Like, we don't talk every day or nothing like that, but I remember about a year ago he called me and was and asked me to take him to go pick his daughter up from jail, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, dude, where your woman at? Why she can't take you to go get your kid from jail? And he was
Yeah.
like, she at work. And I'm like, I cannot believe you just called me, and I can't even believe I'm gonna get up and go. And like I told him, if it wasn't for your daughter, I wouldn't even get up and make this move. But because it's her, I'll be there to pick you up and I will take you to go pick her up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, in those type of situations, I'm still a friend because I'm a nice person. And I always think if it was my kid, I would want somebody to move on the behalf of my child. So I'm gonna get up and move on the behalf of his child. So
Yeah.
but yeah, we're not friends to the point where we talk every day. Every so often I'll get a text like, hey, just checking in on you. And I'll be like, I'm great, stay sober. And I keep it
No.
moving. And I keep it moving. But yeah, it's weird though. But and he was a good guy. Like I did really like him outside of his drinking habit, and I think that was just a big part of the downfall. Because if you are an alcoholic and you're not in control of your actions, then anything can happen in those situations, and it just gets too messy, with that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. um you did we kind of bring in talking about infidelities and marriages and stuff. I do want to ask you about this because you hear and see more of this now than I've ever really known about it in my past growing up. Open marriages, or inviting that third person into your marital bedroom. Are you seeing these things a lot in your sessions? Or is it causing problems in marriages?
I've seen it, but not often. Um, and so, but yeah, it just depends on the couple. With some of them, like it wasn't really, nothing that would mess up what was going on in the room. But with others, like that was like part of the main issue. And I'm just like, maybe because this is just not for y'all, but it's very hard to bring that up because it's just like, they're already into it. And so it's like, I get it. But at the same time, this is causing like majority of the issues between you two. So maybe this is something that we actually need to process. But yes, I've seen where it can definitely cause problems.
I was watching a show. I want to say it's on Paramount, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, but I'm not really sure. It might be, yeah, I think it is. But anyway, it was called Why Women Kill. And it was a husband, yeah. It's actually really, really good though. It's a good series, and it has funny moments and everything. It was a good series, but it was a married couple, and the wife was the one who was bi. So she wanted the open relationship. So the husband agreed to allow her to have a female lover.
Mm-hmm.
And they never she never brought the lover into the home. And at this one particular night, the lover calls, she's having a meltdown, blah, 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 blah. She goes and gets her, she brings her home and asks the husband if she could stay for a couple of days. Well, now she's in the house and she doesn't want to leave. So she's flirting with the husband now, one-on-one, and husband is like, I don't know if this is allowed, but I'm game for it now that she's here. And so they
Yeah.
started having these threesome sessions and so forth. And now the husband is sleeping with her independently outside of the wife being there. And it just turned into a whole mess, like a whole horrible mess, to where she ended up, the wife and the girlfriend ended up battling, and it was a whole big fight, and the girlfriend, she ended up getting killed. Like the wife took her out. So
Uh-huh.
that's why that woman killed. But it just made me think of, I wonder how often that's happening nowadays, where people are opening up their marriages and bringing those third parties into it. And what is that really looking like? You hear about polygamy relationships where it's the man with, because I've watched a few of these Mormon polygamy like documentaries, and they have all of these wives and everything. And I'm just like, how does that really work? Because I couldn't see it. Like, no, I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
It's crazy because like I kind of did like dip my toe in it a little bit.
Okay.
So it was a situation where like in that last relationship, like we did have like a threesome with another woman, but it was a situation where she was more so paying attention to me than him, and so he kind of got annoyed with that. So
Oh.
then there was a time where he gave me a hall pass, and I had like another man, and but it was like he never came to the house. It was nothing like that. I would go over there, but yeah, it wasn't bad. I liked it, but I'm not sure if that's something I want to regularly do, because I'm like, I felt like that worked because I didn't like what I had going on at home. But I don't know that I would need multiple partners regularly. Like,
I know a couple when my son was in elementary school, and he made friend him and his little boy became friends, and so of course I befriended the mom and the dad, and we would see each other when picking them up and field trips and everything. So I remember she and I we were going to a cabaret or something one night, and she was telling me how she wanted to be with another woman, and she convinced him to allow the situation. And he came home from work early one day, and her and the girl was in there going in, and he didn't
yeah.
realize that she was having the relations without him. And it literally broke their marriage up, because she was like, well, I like her and I'm not going to give her up for you. And he's like, but I'm your husband. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, yeah, but that's why they make divorce court. And I'm like, so, right. But it literally broke their marriage up. Because that threesome that she talked him into turned into her and this woman having a relationship. And she left him for her.
Wow. That.
Yeah.
Whew. I mean, it can happen. I mean, like for me, it was like I did notice he started to get jealous a little bit, because he would just be like, every time you going over there, you staying longer. Like, what's tea? So
Okay.
I was like, I didn't really notice, but did you want me to cut down time? Like, what are we doing? He just saying, like, it just seemed like you starting to like him. something, because it was supposed to be just sexual. But yeah, he was like, no, I think you're spending a lot of time over there for it to just be like a sexual thing. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try to cut it down, I guess.
And see, and I think for me, because I am a territorial type person, I'm a Leo, y'all. I'm a little territorial. Um, I would be upset if he sent me out the door to go and engage in somebody else's hot dog. That would irritate the heck out of me. Like, are you serious? So if you okay with me having relations with another man, why am I with you? You might as well be gone. We might as well end this, because I don't want you to be okay with that, because I'm not going to be okay with just sending you out the door to play with somebody else's buns. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm,
be okay with that. So if you're okay with it, then that means there's a problem with us, and
mm-hmm.
we're either going to address it and work it out, or we could just walk away from each other and say goodbye.
Yeah. But there were like two issues. So one of them was he's kind of like a visual person. So he liked the nudes. So he kept asking the child's mom for nudes. And I don't send nudes. So I guess that's why he decided to ask her. But yeah, so that was one thing. And the other one was like, it was abusive. So sometimes when we would be having relations or whatever, sometimes I would flashback to like
Yeah.
situation. And I told him about it. And that's when the whole hall pass thing came up. He was just like, well, I know you love doing that. So I didn't want you to like constantly be having that experience with me. If you wanted to go do it with somebody else, then that's fine. That's why, like, when I tell people, like, it was abusive, I have to like explain, like, abusive people are still very much multidimensional. Like, he wasn't abusive all the time. I didn't wake
Mhm.
up to a punch in the face. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't always get like those arguments all the time. It wasn't always, but when it was bad. So it was just like, yes, he was abusive, but he was also supportive. He was also, understanding sometimes, multidimensional.
Yeah. And you know what? Just real quick, too, just a quick little side note about abuse, because most people think that abuse is just about physical hitting and stuff. And I need for you guys to understand that abuse comes in it comes in various shades. It could be
Mm-hmm.
mental, where where they're just putting you down and making you think that you're the worst person. Oh, you're a horrible cook. Oh, I hate your hair like that. Oh, you got it. Like, it always ragging on you, always putting you down, making you feel horrible about who you are as a person. That is a form of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's emotional. It's tacking onto your emotions. You know, when they're criticizing the way you look in your clothes, and are you getting fat, and you like, boy, I wear less than I was wearing before I got here because you stressing me out. You know what I'm saying? But they're saying and doing anything. You will never find another man as good as me, or I ain't nobody gonna love you but me, or you that all those things. Those are abusive terms, abusive phrases, and they're designed to get your self-esteem to such a point where you feel like all you can get is him. He is the
Yep.
best you have. He is the best you're ever gonna have. So you might as well just sit here and take it, because you can't do no better. That's what he
Yep.
wants you to think. That's what he wants you to believe, because he wants to control you.
Yep.
So I just want to put that out there. When we talk about abuse, it's more than just physical. It could be financial abuse. Maybe he's
Mm-hmm.
gassing you up so he could keep swiping your debit card while he's sitting at home playing PlayStation all dang on day, and you out here working 10, 20 dang on hours trying to feed him and his bad kids. Okay.
Hello.
That's abusive. Okay. So I just want, people to be clear on that, because I had a friend once, and she was like, well, he don't hit me or nothing. Well, oh, she said, well, he hasn't hit me yet. He's just threatened it. I said, baby,
Yeah.
that's abuse. That's
Yep.
abuse. He ain't got to put his hands on you to be abusing you. That's abusive. and she was working, she was helping him pay his bills and his house and doing all of this and doing all of that. And he was constantly putting her down, calling her fat, saying she was stupid. He would get angry and pack her clothes, throw her clothes out the house, like
Oh
on the
wow.
front lawn. And I'm like, you got to get out of here. Like, you can't stay in this situation. You got to go because this is ridiculous. You got a kid. You don't want your daughter growing up thinking that this is normal behavior or that this is
Right.
the way a man should treat a woman, because this is not healthy and it's not normal. You got to go. And thank God she listened. She took the
Yeah.
advice. We created a plan. She worked her plan and she got herself on up out of there. So she is doing wonderful now. So I'm not going to say your name live, but you know who you are. And I love you, girl. So, yeah. So I just want people to recognize that abuse comes in different shades. It's not just one side to that coin. And it's not
Yeah.
always a physical abuse. Okay. It could manifest itself in different ways. So just keep your eyes and your ears and the hairs on the back of your neck when they stand up. Pay attention to that. When you feel that rumble in your stomach, pay attention to that rumble. It's telling you something. And get yourself to a safe place.
And I feel like even like with that, like him even saying like, oh, well, you can go find another partner because you're having flashbacks, whatever. I feel like even that was like low key manipulative because it's like, oh yeah, like giving the facade of I want you to be happy, so I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy type of thing. But it's like you could just stop hitting me.
Right. Right.
That's a good one.
Right. You could just stop. You right. I'd rather for you to stop than pretend to be supportive by sending me off to another man, because that's not telling me that you love me, really. I don't think that's telling me that you love me, that you will send me off to go sleep with another man. Pretty soon, what you gonna be trying to do? Trick me out? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think like that. Like, okay, well, you so quick to send me over here to see Joe's hot dog, how soon before you trying to bring your friends up in here? You know what I'm saying? And be trying, like, I think like that. So I told you my mind is totally different. I think like, oh, he trying to pimp me. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go. I will not be nobody's nobody is gonna be pimping me out. So yeah, I think different. Um, so I have another question. And this is about family sizes. So I was adopted, but I was raised as an only child. So
Mhm.
I don't have like a large family unit. You know what I'm saying? I have some cousins that, I talk to, they love me, and we communicate. But for the most part, when I think of family, I think of me and Trey. That's my son, and like that's the immediate family, and then everything else is extended.
Mhm.
So when you come from like a smaller sized family and you're dating or marrying somebody who has this huge family that's all about
Mhm.
family and family gatherings and every Saturday and every Sunday, and there's always a cousin and a nephew or something going on, how does a person adjust to going from small to huge family style situations?
Um, hmm. I don't really know because I've had that like where I was the one who had like the more intact family and he didn't really have that and he couldn't stand it like he was jealous of it almost. And so like as far as like adjusting, I mean, I would say whoever is the person who has the more intact family, just kind of reinforcing that like you are welcome here. Like this is, if you want to make this kind of like a safe haven or a family for yourself, then yeah. But also, y'all have to be that serious too, because it can't be just somebody you've been on a couple of dates with. Now you're like, well, this is your family, like, because when y'all break up, they gonna take your side. So yeah, I would just say like as the person with the bigger family, like that just be sure that they're welcoming you know, to that, because in understanding of like, if maybe sometimes it's a little uncomfortable for you to be, the person that doesn't come from that environment, because you kind of have to be like walked to into that. You don't just throw somebody into that, because either way, like no matter how welcoming it is, it's uncomfortable if they're not used to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I dated a guy that was like that all his kids are grown or whatever, but every Saturday is the kids, the grandkids, and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, I was trying to go to dinner and I was trying to see this play, and now you tied up every dang on Saturday with these dang on kids. These kids is
yeah.
grown. Why is you always with these grown kids? Like, why your kids so needy? That would be my thing. Why your kids so needy? Ain't they grown? They older than my child. Why they so needy? And he'll be like, but it's the only day I get off a week. My point exactly. So if this is your
Yeah.
only off day and there's no me and you time, then there is no me and you. And he was offended. Again, I offended another one. So he got and
Also, like
I didn't hear
him
from
time.
him anymore. So that was that. That ended that. And he was cool. Like I did like him. But I was just like, I'm not about to be competing with these grown kids who call you every 5 minutes and always need something and this and that. Like, that's ridiculous. My son is in a whole nother state and he don't call me like that. He don't need me like that's ridiculous. And I just thought it was just way too much. And they was just too clingy and too needy, and he was just like, hey, they're my kids and that's the only day I get off a week and I'm going to spend it with them and my grandbabies and I'm gonna just need for you to adjust. And I'm like, well, I'm not willing to adjust to that. So that was the end
Yeah,
of that. See, another one bit the dust, girl.
but that's good. Cause no, like that's nice, but no, like, and then where was the him time? You don't even spend time with yourself at that point. Like,
Right.
no.
And then our schedules are so different because I work mornings. So he gets off at 6 a.m. I'm getting ready to walk out the door. And so we're not seeing each other. And then, when I'm home from work, he's sleeping because he has to be back to work at 10 o'clock that night. So we're missing each other constantly, constantly. So the one day a week that you do get free, you spend it with them. There is no room for me here. So there's no room
Mhm.
for me. Why am I here? Let me just go and you go live your life with somebody that don't mind doing all of that every week. Because every weekend, I'm not going to be giving my time to your grandkids. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So yeah. So y'all understand why I'm still single, right? So don't ask me no more. Like, girl, why you single? These are all the reasons why. Okay. I didn't lay them
Read
all
number
out.
9.
Okay, so sex versus money in the relationship. Which one is more important on a scale of 1
Oh,
to
I don't know. I love sex, but like, who want to be broke? Like,
10? Because they
what do
say
we
that most
do?
marriages break because of financial problems or infidelity or something. So I'm wondering, in a marriage, which one is the more value?
Are you talking about for me personally or on a professional, like from my professional standpoint?
Let's go professional, from your
Okay,
professional
so
standpoint.
professionally, I think I'm gonna go with the money, because I do think people do need to come together, both financially stable and have their own stuff, because that will cause problems. And I mean, like, if y'all don't have things together financially, the sex don't exist anyways. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Like, baby, I can't do it with no heat on. It's cold.
we are we're frozen. Like, no, we frozen. The lights off. The food going bad in the
Right.
fridge. We
Like,
ain't
it's
gonna
a
have.
mess. Who could think about sex right now? The repo man is at the door. We cannot get it in when the repo man is at the door. Do
Exactly.
you believe in joint accounts? Joint bank
No,
accounts and stuff?
no, I don't. But I've never been married. So I'm like, I feel like that because I don't trust nobody with my money.
Okay.
But, I've never been with somebody that I trust on that level. So it could change. But as of now, no, we're not doing joint anything. Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm not mad at you. I honestly feel like, going back to my mama, the left hand don't need to know what the right one doing. I feel like a woman should always have her own bank account. Now,
Every
if
time.
you do want to have a joint account with your mate, that's fine. But you should be designating money to your own private, personal rainy day fund. Whether, it's the Christmas club account, whether it's a vacation account, whatever you want to call that account needs to be yours and yours alone, and it needs to be separate. And another reason why I believe that is I don't always, and this is where my full on independence comes in. I don't want to have to ask you, can I buy these pair of shoes?
Yeah.
I just want the shoes. And I'm here right now. The shoe is calling my name. And guess what? I can afford this shoe. So I'm just going to buy the shoe. I don't want to have to call you, text you, wait for you to reply to say, oh, yeah, baby, you can't. No, you can't tell me what I can have. I go to work just like you do. And that I get from Claire Huxtable.
Hello.
From the Cosby Show, Claire Huxtable said, I work just like Dr. Huxtable work. I could buy what I want to buy. So I feel that 100%. I should be able to purchase things for myself or my mate or friends or whatever, without always having to clear that dollar amount with you. Now,
Yeah.
if I'm talking about I'm about to go out here and buy a car, and we're married now, of course that's a different type of a purchase, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, babe, we need to talk about this, so forth and so on. I saw a car, I want to buy it, blah blah blah. That's the conversation. But yeah, for those little bitty thing like concert tickets, or if my girls and I are going to lunch and I decide I'm gonna pick up the tab or whatever, like those little bitty things, I want to be able to do that without having to clear that with you. So I
Yeah.
think that it's important that you have your individual bank account where you can do your individual things for your life. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yes, if you guys want to have an account together, so that's something that you're building together for whatever y'all reasons are, whether it's home ownership, vacations, whatever y'all building that for. Or, if that's the account that you guys are going to pay the household bills out of, then I understand that. But
Mm-hmm.
always remember to have something for yourself, because you never know. You just never know. Like, he could be great today, and tomorrow he could be a total a-hole, and you got to get away. You can't get away with
Right.
your joint account, but you can get away with your own. So
Mm-hmm.
always have your own money.
Yeah. And I like it was something Steve Harvey had said. He said that if y'all do have a joint account, like that's what y'all pay bills out of, but y'all have y'all own accounts. I like that. Because you
Yeah.
definitely know the money over there and y'all making sure y'all bills are paid, you got it on auto pay, whatever. And yeah, you just mind your business after that.
Yeah, and see, and that's where the contract comes in. So when we're sitting at the table and we're discussing our relationship and how we wanted to move forward and the roles we're going to play, then that's when we're saying, okay, well, babe, I get paid every Friday, so I could put $100 a check. So every Friday, so that's $400 a month. Some months five, right? Just to throw some numbers out there. And then he's saying, okay, well, I get paid every 2 weeks. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 200 every 2 weeks to match the 100 you're doing every week. And that is $800 a month that we're putting into this account together. And that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to continue to do, to build. And that's what we're going to pay our bills out of. And we'll make sure, da, 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 da. But that needs to be discussed up front. You can't just assume that that's what's going to happen. You have to talk about these things. And I think a lot of times with marriage, from what I've seen, people meet and they're in this beautiful new romance stage, and everything smells like roses, and the birds are singing, and the rainbow is out, and they're skipping down the yellow brick road, and it's all happy, right? And then they rush to the altar and they get married, and they don't know each other. They only
Yeah.
know the romance that they've been living in. And then they move in together, they learn each other's habits and ways and modes, and they realize that he is super moody, and he realized that she is not the greatest in the morning. And oh my God, what is all that on your face you going to bed with? And boy, you ain't showered all weekend, and you've been just sitting here watching football, scratching, and you know what I'm saying? You get to learning each other, and you realize that y'all don't even like each other.
Yep.
And now you're in divorce court because y'all don't like each other. So now y'all arguing, y'all fussing, y'all fighting. You can't resolve anything. You don't have any conflict resolution skills. Your communication skills lack because every time you bring a topic up, it turns into the argument and so forth. So now you're ending the situation, and you probably could have avoided some things if you would have just taken some time. So I say that to say, take the walk through the park with the person. Everything does not have to be a rush to the altar. Take a walk through the park and smell the roses. You know what I'm saying? Like, take a nice stroll. It's not a you don't have to sprint to the finish line. Nobody is timing this race. You don't have to do 400 yards in 3.5 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can take your time, and you could walk around the track a couple of times and have conversation and get to know each other and understand and realize how people deal with certain situations before you just run into marriage because you have these rose-colored glasses on right now. But when those glasses come off and you start seeing a person for the colors they really are, you miserable, but you don't have nobody to blame but yourself.
Yep. Our last relationship is like a perfect example of that. Like, a lot of people don't know this. So like my friends watch this and they're just like, why would you do that? Whatever. But so I had met him like just out. And then when he had invited me out and, was like paying for everything, just it was nice. And so, I was like, oh, okay. And he's also fine. I want to hop on him. Like so honestly, like we started off having sex, and it was supposed to be like just that, but he didn't want just that. He was like, no, I don't like to do this with people who aren't, my partner. And so I at the time was just like, well, he's good at what he does. Why not? And so we ended up getting together like pretty much based off of like sex. And it was just like, oh God. Then I ended up in the situation I was in. And I'm just like, see, if I would have taken the time to get to know, I would have saw those red flags and I got with somebody who, does those types of things in relationship. Like you said, conflict resolution. I never saw that until it was too late, So it was just a lot.
And those things are important because you have to know how to argue. A good friend of mine has been dating a guy at this particular point, I think about 3 months now. And she was saying how he's already talking about, we need to get a place together, and I need for you to meet my parents and this and that. And, trying to incorporate her into his kids, activities and so forth. And she is like, whoa, slow down. Like, slow down a little bit. You're moving way too fast for me. And she's like, I don't know if it's because I've been single for so long or because I've been dealing with a certain type of a dude, certain type of dudes for so long that this dude is totally different from them and I'm not responding properly or whatever. So she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay to say, hey, I like you and I enjoy getting to know you and the time we're spending together. But, can we hold off on meeting the parents for a minute?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can we,
That's
slow down on this whole getting a place and moving in together? Like, can we at least get to 6 months before we're talking about that? Like, and she said he's been talking to her about this since 1 month in. Like, he started talking to her 1 month into it. And I'm like, I do get that some men see the woman and they're like, that's the woman I'm going to marry. And that is actually the woman that they marry and they have a happy life together. But at the same token, even though he said that's the one I'm going to marry, he still had to go through a process to get her. Still had to put some work in. There was still some steps he had to take. He didn't just meet her and say, I'm gonna marry her, and then tomorrow they was at the altar. Like, no, he still had to do some things. I'm like, so yeah, tell him you enjoy it. You love getting to know him. You're really enjoying his company and all the things that you guys are doing. But you just still need to be able to move at a pace that's more comfortable for you in this situation. And like I told her, you're
Right.
still in the healing process right now. You're going through some things where you're in therapy. And you need to, still be able to work certain things out within yourself that you started therapy for. You know what I'm saying? So explain that to him and let him know, like, I don't want to end what we're doing, but I just need a little bit more time to catch up to where you are. And in the process of catching up to where he is, keep your eyes open. It's time for you to take them glasses off now,
Yeah.
and it's time for you to take the glasses off and pay attention, because if he's trying to move that way, why is he pushing it? Why is he moving so fast? So pay
Yeah.
attention to it. See what that's about. You know what I'm saying? And I would suggest that to anybody, friend or foe. You have to pay attention, because that would scare me too if we're 30 days in and you're like, we need to move in together and I need for you to meet my parents. I'm gonna be like, what?
Right.
I'm not asking you to come kiss the urn. So why do I have to go and meet your parents after 30 days?
Nah, that's serious. And like honestly, rushing at this point is a red flag for me because like I've seen what happens when I rush and or I allow somebody else to rush and I just go with it. Like, no, you trying to rush? You might get blocked. Like for real, because no, I'm scared at this point.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I feel you.
figure out what you got going on. I don't know what your family is on. Like,
Right. Like, I don't know what y'all have going on. I think we talked about everything. We talked about our individual happiness. I think the only thing we did touch a little bit on building goals together. That's the last question I have down, or the last little point. In a relationship, I feel like, okay, so I've started my own little business. He works or whatever, does his thing. And I want somebody that's going to be supportive of my dreams and the things that I'm trying to do, as well as me being supportive of whatever his dreams and what he's trying to do. But at some point, there should be something that we're doing together, I think, in a partner. For me, anyway, I would want somebody that says, okay, babe, I know you're doing this and I'm doing this, but how about we try to figure out how we could do something together? Whether it's I'm going to support you over here, or you're going to support me over there, or we're going to create something here from scratch and build together. Do you think it's important for couples to have those type of goals to build something new together?
I think it is important because like it's definitely important to have your individual happiness, but y'all also need something that is specifically y'all's. So, whether it's a business that y'all do together or a hobby that y'all pick up together, it's got to be something that's like exclusive to y'all because that helps to build and strengthen the bond.
Right, right. See, I like that. I like that. I just thought maybe it was just me. Like, maybe I'm just asking for too much. Because I do get that a lot. Like, oh my God, you ask for so much. You want so much. You're so high maintenance. And I'm like, I'm not high maintenance. Like, I'm literally the girl next door type. So I'm not high maintenance. But I've been on this earth for 48 years now. And
Mm-hmm.
I know what I want now. And I know what I will not take and will not tolerate in my space of peace and happiness. And when I'm talking about a relationship, I'm talking about whether it's me and a man, friends, family. I don't care who it is. If you're coming in and you're not going to feed positivity into my spirit and into my space, then I don't want you in that space.
Yeah. Like I realized too, like I didn't have many standards when it came to romantic relationships. Like I was just like, a guy liked me or he showed me attention, like, oh, now I'm interested in him. And it's like, no, it should be more than that. So like after that one, I did have to sit down and be like, okay, what do you want for real? Like we can make a list. I love lists. So
I do too.
We can make a list, whatever, but we not walking in blind ever again. Like that's just not what we doing. It don't work. You tried it twice. It's just not for you. We not walking in blind.
Right. And you said something earlier, be careful what you ask for. That's what I wanted to go to. I remember back in my 20s, my early 20s, and I had wrote this list out to God. God, this is what I want in a man. Wrote it all out, right? So I get to late 20s. God brings me everything on that list, except it came attached with somebody. That was the guy I ended up spending 7 years as a mistress with him
Oh,
because he was everything on the list. He was just attached to somebody else. And that was the one thing I didn't put on the list. He must be single. The one thing I leave off the list, because I didn't even think that I would need to say that. Like,
right.
you think that you need to say that when you're saying this is what I want in a man. I'm not thinking I had to lead with please let him be single. I just listed like he was the right height. He was, oh my God, he was like my little Greek god. Like he was every time I looked at him, it was like the sun was like it was just glowing. But he was like all those things. He was like a manly's man. He worked on cars. He fixed houses. He was a good provider. He was a friend. Like we got along great. You know what I'm saying? We would laugh together. We had a ball together. But it was just those few little things that I missed on the list that honestly didn't show up. But everything that I listed, and I stuck that list in the Bible and prayed on it, and God gave me everything on that list.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. So now I'm like, okay, God, we gotta revisit. Like you knew what I meant. Why you know what I'm saying? Like I know you knew what I meant. But if you ask God for something, he's gonna give it to you. So you have to, you have to be careful what you ask for, because when you get it, you realize it's not what it was cracked up to be. It's not what you expected it to be.
Yeah, I'm learning to be very specific. It's ridiculous, but you know what? I'm fine with it. So I'm like, that's why I'm like, I can't just be carelessly saying stuff because God love me. So he just be like, oh, you want that? Cool beans. I got you. Like,
Like, oh, okay, girl, you want them 6'2", you want them this, you want them. Oh, I got one for you. Let me send them on over there. And like just but and then he like, well, you didn't tell me that he needed to be single. And so I was trying to see what you was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you gonna fall into that, or are you gonna be strong enough to walk away? And I was all up entwined for 7 whole years. I'm not gonna even lie. And like the first 5 years were great. And then the last 2 years, it took me actually 2 years to really walk away. So
yeah,
total of 7 years. But the last 2 years were me getting my strength to walk away from them, because every time I tried, I couldn't do it. And every
yeah,
time I thought I had did it, I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot to actually leave that relationship alone. And then even after that, like we still cool. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't end on bad terms. We're not beefing. He calls and still checks on me from time to time. When my mom passed away, he was right there front and center. Like I got you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we still are cool. We still friends, but we are no longer in those kind of conversations. We don't talk about stuff like that no more. Like we know that that's completely off the table now. And one of the
yeah,
things about him, he's a Leo, like I'm a Leo. So I know when you say it's done, it's done. So
yeah.
yeah, we're good with that. Now, before I let you go,
Mhm.
I am going to go through what I like to call the faithful freestyle. So it's just some quick questions that we're gonna fire off just to get to know you just a little bit better on a different level. Okay, so just a few questions. The first one is, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Um, either I would either do invisibility or reading minds.
Ooh, a mind reader. Okay, I
Yeah,
heard that. Be all up in people business.
I feel like that would be great for my field. So-
Yeah, because people, you'll be able to really get to the heart of what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Who in the world? Let me see. I think I had a really big one on Shamar Moore when I was a kid.
Okay, all right. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
My mom was like, he mine. I'm like, you're married.
Oh my goodness. Okay, what was your favorite TV show growing up?
Mm, the Proud Family.
Oh, I love Penny Proud. Have you watched any of the new ones since they've rebooted it? Okay.
Yeah, love it. Love it all. They did that.
Shout out to Kyla Pratt. I'm a fan of Kyla Pratt. I think she's such a beautiful young lady. I love the way she carries herself. So yeah, I like her. And I also want to know what was the best piece of advice anyone ever gave you?
Um, One of my friends recently, this was recent too. She told me to do it scared. She said, I know you scared, but do it scared. Like, even if you are, take that with you, but still go and do it. So,
Yes, I like that. I like that. Yay, friend. Good advice because we let fear keep us from doing so much, right? The
mhm,
fear of failure, the fear of what people might say or what they're gonna think, or I'm not gonna be able to do it the way I may envision it in my head, or I'm not going to be able to live up to the expectation of it. And we let all of these fears come in and block us from doing what we know we can do, what God has birthed us to do, and everything else. And the thing about it is, just a little tip I want to tell you, because I was like that, afraid, 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 always letting people tell me I can't do it, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, da 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 da, and allowing that fear to fester inside of me. The thing about God is, if it's your calling and it's your purpose, you might be scared today saying, no, I'm not going to do this, but I guarantee you, God is going to take you through something and he's going to bring you
mhm,
to the other side of it. And when you get to the other side, guess what's still going to be standing there? That purpose. So you're going to have to do it regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have
yeah,
to get through it. You're going to have to do it regardless. So I agree with your friend. Do it scared. I'm going to have to write that down. Tell her I'm going to put this on my mirror.
right. With sticky notes. I'm about to actually go get some sticky notes and put stuff on my mirror because I think that helps. Like to have those
Yeah.
affirmations staring you in the face. So,
Yes, they do. When my mom passed, I was so bad. I was so bad. And I just was praying and asking God, like, I gotta come out of it. Like, I don't know what to do. And then one day I just got sticky notes and stuff, and I just started writing these scriptures down and writing these affirmations down. And I just went in the bathroom, and my entire mirror is pasted with them. So every
mhm,
time I go in the bathroom, I'm reminding myself, like, you can make good decisions. You can do this. Like, you are smart. You are intelligent. You can make good choices. Trust your gut. Trust yourself. And like
yeah,
all of these different things just to remind me that I'm beautiful. I'm bold. I'm intelligent. I'm compassionate. I'm a caring individual. I even have one up there that says, when skies are gray, smile anyway.
yeah,
Just to remind myself to just keep smiling through it all, even in the darkest times. Smile through it because you're standing. You're
mhm,
alive, even though it's dark and it's troubling and it's scary and it's horrible. You are still alive. That's a reason to smile. He woke you up this morning. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't have to do that. One of the ones is oh my God, God is working. Life may not be all that you want it to be in this moment, but God is working things out in your favor. Hold on. So, just little bitty, like little messages to myself. So, yeah, I love affirmations.
Yeah, same here. Like they're definitely helpful. I just got to get better with saying them when I wake up. But I think the sticky note thing will definitely help up because I'll just be able to look at it. Like right now, they're in my phone, and I'm like, "Girl, you don't be in that note thing."
Right. So yeah, take them from your phone, put them on some sticky notes, put them up, brushing your teeth in the morning, read them. Like, yes, Lord, I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can accomplish it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just encouraging. And I even went to like I Googled scriptures for encouragement. And I went through all the scriptures that were listed and picked out the ones that I felt resonated most with me and my
Yeah.
journey and what I was trying to get to. So yeah, girl, high five on the affirmations. So I think that's all I have right now. But I always ask my guests to leave us with a thought of encouragement or anything that you might want to leave us with, whether it's telling us, because I didn't even ask you. I'm so sorry. We was all into the marriage and single life and dating, and I totally got thrown off. But I didn't ask you about the clinic, where it's located, or anything. But I will tell you guys this. I will put all of that information in the description box. So if you are seeking family counseling, if you're looking for someone for your teen to talk to, maybe your teenager is going through some things. If you're married and maybe your marriage is like, I don't know, if maybe we need to talk to somebody, I want you to reach out to Taylor and her organization, get the information, get into therapy. And if you can work it out, because marriage is an institution, and it's an institution that's been broken down.
Yeah.
Especially in a Black community, we all know systematically it's been designed to break. They lock up our Black fathers to keep them out of the home. You know, with moms, if you're living in a low privileged area and you need a medical financial or state assistance, they won't give it to you if the man is in the house. It's another way to force the man out the home. So all these things are designed to tear the family apart. So if we could do anything to bring the family together, build the family up, make that unit stronger, it only makes the community stronger. So if that's something that you want to work for and you want to do, reach out and get the therapy, get the help that you need, get the counseling, talk those things out. It will be okay. And if for whatever reason you just can't make it work, that's okay too. Leave on an amicable basis, leave on a friendly basis. There's no reason to be busting the windows out his car, like Jasmine Sullivan said. There's no reason to be doing all the violent stuff. Like, let's put the violence down and find a way to walk away in a healthy way. And therapy can also help you do that. It can help you resolve it in a healthier way. So, Taylor, I'm sorry, I'm going to let you take it from here and you can close it out with some positive thoughts.
Okay. Well, I guess what do I want to say? You said a lot, and I'm just like, I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. But no, I mean, being a therapist, I think I've realized like the importance of, connecting with other human beings and, like, because I realized like wanting to be by myself all the time is kind of a trauma response. I mean, yeah, love your own company, but we're wired for connection. So just make sure those connections are healthy and they're feeding you and your spirit and your mind. And you will definitely go far with that in life. So just make some healthy connections.
Yes, healthy connections. And I know I said I was wrapping it up, but connections, I'm gonna leave it alone because that's a whole nother topic. So I'm gonna go before we be in a whole nother therapy session and then you'll be sending me a bill. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today to this episode of Faithfully Her with Miss Taylor Brown. Again, Taylor is a certified or registered marriage and family therapist. She is based out of Florida. But we can do Zoom sessions, and I'm pretty sure she can, set up the PayPal or whatever to get the payments for her time. But if you want somebody, and she's really sweet, she listens, she's personable, she has shared her journey with you, so you know that she's a down-to-earth sister. She's not passing judgment. I know a lot of people think therapists pass judgments. We don't. Because we have lives too. So she's not one of those people. She's very easy to talk to, and she's an understanding individual. So please reach out if you need that help. Okay, again, I will have all her information in the description box for you, so you can find her Instagram, website, and book yourself accordingly as you need to. As always, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and riding this wave with me today. I want to always remind you, show up, show out, and shine, shine, shine. I love you all. Have a blessed week in Christ, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.